the volume on that's going to be turned up. I'm watching 4.5% on the 10-year bond. And the reason being, the Federal Reserve a year ago cut rates twice, and market rates went higher. They went higher by 1 full percentage point. So here we are. You got Trump jumping up and down, berating Powell. Although I think $3 billion for 3 buildings is pretty stupid. He won't cut rates, and I'm not sure that Trump understands that if the Fed does cut rates, and all of a sudden we see a 5 handle on the 10-year, that is clear that the Federal Reserve will have lost control of the yield curve. And at some point in time, that's going to happen because there is no premium, there is no on treasuries. And when I say risk premium, I'm talking about whether or not A, you're going to be paid back, and B, whether you're going to be paid back in like a real currency or in monkey money. And mathematically, that's where this goes, is that the treasuries are going to be paid back in monkey money. In other words, they're going to have to destroy the dollar to actually make the payment because they can't do it in real terms.
Yeah.
In today's dollar, in other words. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I suspect that if they cut rates again, look, to begin with, you've already got foreigners dumping treasuries. There was a pretty good article done by, it wasn't Vince Lancy, I forget who did it, 2 or 3 days ago, talking about gold is replacing treasuries on the balance sheets and in the minds of central banks, foreign central banks. In other words, they're opting to take, either they're selling treasuries and buying gold, or instead of buying treasuries, they're buying gold. So gold is becoming a bigger and bigger, more important part of central bank balance sheets. And the reason being, it cannot be diluted, it can't default. And we know that that's not the case with treasuries. Look at Japan has not bought anything in the last few years. And if you look at China's holdings are back to where they were 10 or 11 years ago. Yeah, the treasuries come back, but they don't even have to dump treasuries. I mean, all they have to do is not buy them. And then who leaves? Then who's the last, the buyer of last resort? It's the Federal Reserve, which is not even any longer a separate entity from the Treasury. That's within it's under the Treasury's roof because they were merged, 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, you could make the argument for that, but my opinion is commodities for so long now, since the 70s, 80s, have been controlled by paper contracts. Mm-hmm. And what's happened is they've overshorted contracts throughout the entire commodity spectrum. And, that's fine, except for taking into account the real world, real supply and real demand. So what they've done is they've priced or underpriced commodities for so long that now you've got, you have structural issues. I mean, take silver. Silver's in a structural deficit of 400, 500 million ounces per year. And, if you could make a case that there's 200, 300 paper ounces for every 1 real ounce that exists. Medicinal, industrial, technological. I mean, every time they launch a Tomahawk missile, that's a monster box flying through the air. The thing with silver is that there's end use for it. I mean, when gold gets bought, gold is money. Gold gets, like Warren Buffett says, it gets bought and then it gets put in the dark and you never see it again. The thing with silver is it gets used. It gets used and you can get some of it back, but it's only some of it or a small part of it.
Yeah.
The structural deficit and getting back to the importance of silver, I've said all along, and I still maintain that silver is the fuse, if you will, to gold's financial bomb. Because when gold blows, when gold goes into failure to deliver, then you've got pretty much confidence across the world is going to collapse. Because, I mean, think about it. What's the value of a contract that cannot perform? The value is zero. So it's just such a small market in relation to gold. And you can't have silver exploding. You couldn't have $200 silver, in the short term. You couldn't have $200 silver and $3,500 gold. I mean, the ratio would completely collapse, and that would lead to a failure to deliver. If silver goes failure to deliver, I guarantee you within 72 hours, so will gold. And when gold goes failure to deliver, the financial system as we know it is done. I think gold was being onshored or brought back. And another thing that's going on that almost no one's talking about is that you have foreign central banks that are demanding gold back from the Fed. And if you remember 10 years, 12 years ago, Germany requested, 320 tons or something like that. And it took them over 3 years to do it. And at the time, they were saying that, oh, well, it's too much weight. It can't be done. The logistics just can't be done. Well, we just saw that it can be done. And 320 tons, you could do it with 4 plane loads with Boeing 747 cargo planes. They can carry 95 tons each.
What if the U.S. government can't deliver the requested gold back?
That completely breaks all trust in the United States. Would you ever do business again if you were a foreigner? Would you ever do business again with the United States? And they've already come pretty close to that by sequestering Russia's $300 billion in forex reserves in treasuries. And now they're taking the interest from that $300 billion, and they've been giving it to Ukraine to fight Russia. I mean, so basically Ukraine's fighting Russia with Russian monies. Was it 2023, I think, when gold lifted off and came out of the range of the, 1,700 to 2,200 or thereabouts. But the following day after that was announced that those reserves or those treasuries had been sequestered, gold all of a sudden kicked into, it started looking like a tractor in first gear, going higher. And that is a function of trust.
Is there go ahead.
Foreign central banks just looked at that and said, hey, wait a minute, if they can do that to Russia, they can do that to us. We'd rather hold something that we actually hold, we know cannot go bankrupt, we know cannot be diluted. It's God's money. Well, ultimately, or when all is said and done, I think that's the correct view. But I think we're going to go through at least 1, maybe 2 resets before we get to the final reset, the Mother Nature reset. The first reset, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to try to do some type of central bank digital currency or whatever, stable coin. It's still going to be fiat. And I don't think that that's going to last much more than, I don't know, maybe 6 months. Could be less than that. Could be a little longer than that. But I think we're going to go through a reset, and they will mark the price of gold up on that reset. But we're still going to have a fiat currency. And whatever the end result, as far as what the world reserve currency is going to be, it will be tethered somehow, ratio backed or whatever, to gold. There's no way that the world is going to accept the situation we're in now again.